Hey you guys, today's video is going to be short but extremely important because, as you may have seen by the title, this is about humid hides, and leopard geckos absolutely need humid hides. Just because they're from an arid environment doesn't mean that they don't need moisture in their skin to help them shed. So, this is Fritz's house. Whoops. This is Fritz's house. I'm gonna not let him out. I'm gonna get his humid hide. Fritz is not in his humid hide. Perfect, we can use his. Fritz's humid hide is just like a standard humid hide that I use for all of my leopard geckos. So I'm going to show you how to make it real quick, obviously without making one because I don't have any of the materials to make one right now. I'm out of humid hides because, well, I have a lot of geckos. So basically you'll take a Tupperware container. This is a pretty good size for a Tupperware container for a leopard gecko, in my opinion, because you want your leopard gecko to be able to fit in it and also be able to turn around. If your leopard gecko can't turn around, it's not enough room if they're shedding inside of this, which a lot of them choose to do. So what you'll need, like I said, is a Tupperware container. You're going to want a lid that securely fits on there. You're going to want the actual Tupperware container itself. You're probably going to need some sort of fine blade, like an X-Acto knife, just something sharp, and you want to make sure that after cutting the hole large enough to let your leopard gecko in, that you run your finger along the inside. If it feels sharp or pokey on any sort of spot, make sure that you get that off. Some people use like heat to melt out a hole. I'm not gonna mess with all that because I don't like fire and I'm not trying to get burnt. So basically what you'll do is you'll just feel all the edges. Nope, Fritz doesn't have any sharp ones, obviously, because I've already made this forever ago. There's calcium on my finger now though. And after you cut the hole, you have your lid, you have your container with the hole cut. You will take a piece of paper towel, fold it up, press it down on all the sides, and pour water on top of it. Once you pour some water on top of it just to get it to stay in place, I put the lid back on. Okay, lid's back on. And then I take a spray bottle and I spray through this hole. So as you can see, there is moisture along the sides of this. And there's not really any left in the lid, but it hasn't been sprayed in a day, so that's probably why. But yeah, you can see the condensation on the side. And another thing you can see is if I pour this, water comes out. Let's try and get it back in there. There we go. But as you saw, water came out. That's because this needs to stay moist. This paper towel should not dry out. If it dries out, then you need to spray it again. That's just how it is. But it should not stay dried out because you want your gecko to have that moisture. You don't want this to be so wet that like it's literally just water sitting on top of the paper towel, but you want it to be enough that there's like a little bit of water to move around if you were to turn it upside down like I just showed you. Keep that off of the hot end of your enclosure. If you put the humid hide on the hot end, it'll dry out too fast and your gecko won't actually be able to utilize the moisture that comes with it. And then it's pointless. So, one last thing I want to address when I close up Fritz's house would be that I'm invisible, would be that there are multiple different types of bottoms to the humid hides that you can use for a humid hide to retain the moisture. Personally, I use paper towels. I've never had a problem with the paper towels. You just have to change them like once a week. Just make sure that like nothing nasty happens. Like obviously if your gecko poops in the humid hide, you'll want to change the paper towel. Or if you notice that like they shed in it and a bunch of their sheds left behind, change the paper towel. If you notice it changes color or has a smell, change the paper towel. But other than that, you shouldn't have to do it more than like once a week. There is another option aside from using paper towel, and that would be Eco Earth. This is not my preference. I do not use Eco Earth in my humid hides. However, it is entirely possible and there are many people who have used it with no problems. So if you have Eco Earth, you can put it in the humid hide. I recommend cutting the hole on the top or like a little bit higher so the Eco Earth doesn't just get poured out the front. But what you're going to want to do is make sure that Eco Earth stays moist because its purpose is a moist hide. I know that Eco Earth can dry out, so of course you want to keep spraying it. And if you notice that your gecko poos or urates in the Eco Earth or sheds, you're going to want to change out some of that just like you would a paper towel because you want the humid hide, which is a pretty much always moist environment, to stay clean as possible. You obviously don't want to make a nasty environment for your gecko to get sick in, so just make sure it stays clean. So I'm not against anyone using Eco Earth. It is possible to use it in a humid hide situation. However, I'm not going to be using Eco Earth anytime soon, and if you just want the simplicity of paper towel, that is totally an option for you. I want to finally talk about the sphagnum moss or other types of moss that I see used in humid hides. Please, please, please don't do this. Please, please, please don't use sphagnum moss or any other kind of moss. It is possible to be eaten. I know a lot of people are going to be like, ugh, oh my god, you're just another person talking about impaction. It's a real thing. It really happens to animals, and in this past year alone, I've seen multiple cases of geckos that have been impacted by moss and have died from it. it's really, really bad because it's not like Eco Earth, which Eco Earth is easier to pass than moss, for example. Moss is thick, it's wet, it's harder for your gecko's body to pass and digest. So please don't use moss. It really doesn't hold any more water than a paper towel or Eco Earth would in a Humid Hide. So those are more safe options. And also, I know this seems like I'm talking really fast and this is a rushed video, but there's not a lot to say about Humid Hides other than your gecko absolutely needs one. I use them for leopard geckos and I use them for my African fat tail as well. Their care is really similar, and I recommend that if you have any sort of gecko that has similar care to a leopard gecko or an African fat tail, that you use a Humid Hide. They are essential. Like, they're basically so important. A lot of geckos that don't drink out of bowls will drink out of their Humid Hide, which is another reason why they have to stay clean. But Humid Hides are just essential for having healthy, good sheds. I've noticed a lot of people who don't have Humid Hides. No, Sammy, don't drill on my computer. Oh, gross. My dogs are just being louder, so I'm sorry if you hear them. But it's so important to have a Humid Hide. I've seen people who don't have Humid Hides and they'll reach out to me and they'll be like, what's wrong with my leopard gecko? And there's stuck shed on its feet, there's stuck shed on its tail, on its eyes. They have toes falling off because of the stuck shed cutting off the circulation to the toe, and the toe's dead so it falls off. It's really important to make sure that your gecko has the humidity in a location where they can go to it and seek it out. Because leopard geckos, like I said, they don't live in a humid environment, but they should be able to have the option to go to seek out humidity if they need it. So please offer a Humid Hide to your leopard geckos. They are so important, so simple, and you may think that your leopard gecko will never use it. Even the geckos that I don't see use their Humid Hides, they use them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this informational and insightful. Please subscribe if you are not subscribed yet. I'd love to have you, and also hit that bell because that's like YouTube's new way of subscribing or something. I don't know, it's YouTube's thing. Check out all the links below, follow us on our social media, become a patron, do all kinds of stuff at the links, and look out for other leopard gecko care videos because I have filmed many recently and there will be plenty coming out. I'll see you guys in those ones. Bye!